Welcome to Hiking with Anderson. I'm Dr. Owen Anderson, and I'm out here this time in Los Angeles, actually in the San Gabriel Valley. You can see the San Gabriel Mountains behind me. It's a little bit foggy today, so it's not as clear of a view, but this is kind of an urban hike today. And as I was out here, I was doing what I normally do when I'm hiking. I was thinking about philosophical ideas, and today I wanted to especially talk about the idea of a moral law, because that's one of the main topics we cover at Clarity Fund. So the idea of a moral law is that there is a law which is focused on the good. So the moral law describes what choices we have to make to achieve the good. So in earlier episodes, we've talked about knowledge and purpose, and how knowledge is necessary for purpose. And we've also talked about the order in thinking, rational presuppositionalism, as well as the idea of clarity. And so we kind of combine these when we get to the moral law, because if there's a moral law, it would be clear, comprehensive, and critical. So what that means is it must be clear what is good. And it is clear what is good because the good is based on human nature, and it's clear what is a human and what is not a human, what distinguishes humans from non-humans. And so when we're talking about the good, we're talking about the highest end, that which is the end of all of our choices. There are different ends, right? There are more immediate or proximate ends, and there are final ends. And so the immediate ends aim to other ends. That's how we know that they're not final. They aim at something else. And we want to know, what is that final end? What is the highest good at which all things are aimed? And that's clear what is good, because it's based on human nature, that humans are rational beings. We use reason to try to understand. And so the good is connected with understanding the nature of things. And that the nature of things created reveals the nature of the creator. So good is based in human nature, and there's one human nature that all humans share. Ancient humans, modern humans, all have in common human nature. So the moral law is clear, it's comprehensive, which means it applies to all areas of human life. Since it's based on human nature and human choice, the moral law applies to all areas of human choice. So it applies to business, as well as family, as well as education and law. There's no area of human life outside of the moral law and what it says about what choices we should make to achieve the good. It also is comprehensive over time, in the sense of applying to us all throughout our life. It is relevant for us when we're young, when we're middle-aged, and when we're old. So it's clear and comprehensive, and it's critical. The moral law is critical in the sense that it is a matter of life and death. So when we life and death in this sense of spiritual life or spiritual death, the attaining of the good or not attaining of the good, what could be more important than that? And if we if we understand what is good, we choose what is good. This is a matter of life, meaningfulness, a life full of meaning, in contrast to failing to achieve the good, which is a life void of meaning. And meaning there especially refers to being able to make sense of things, being able to understand. And so when we've rejected reason as a basis for our humanity, we won't come to understand things. We won't know the difference between God and not God, or good and non-good. And really at that personal level, that's, I think, where we feel it, good and evil. Some of the topics we might go over seem a bit abstract, like knowledge and purpose, rational presuppositionalism, that's a long term. But good and evil, and having a good life, having a meaningful life, we all feel that deeply. We want that. We don't want to settle for something less than that. And when we feel empty and meaningless, we try to do something about it, even if it is something that is actually harmful. We might turn to the bottle to avoid an empty life. So we have that built into us. We want meaning. We want what is good. And I think we feel it at that level. Now, it's not... I wanted to bring up this idea that what we need to do is return to tradition and traditional views of the good. This could be, say, return to Protestant tradition or return to Catholic tradition. But what has happened since that time, so we want to return to some traditional time, what has happened since that time is new challenges have been raised. And so one of the things we want to do at Clarity Fund is address these challenges that have been raised and need to be answered. And challenges come in the form of questions to test our understanding, or we could say it this way, they test our faith, because faith is understanding. And so new challenges have been raised since the Reformation that press us to say, do we really understand, for example, the good, what a good life is? And many people might say a good life is doing the right things in this life, so when you die, you go to heaven and have some kind of direct beatific vision. And so challenges have been raised about that in modernity. Is that really a good life? Can you actually have a direct vision of God, who is a spirit? And what does that mean about this life? What is the purpose of this life if we're mainly to flee this world? That sounds more like Gnosticism, Greek Gnosticism, which is actually made popular in a lot of popular fiction. An idea that this world is not ultimately real, just the spirit world is real. So challenges have been raised, and that's one of the main ones. What is the highest good? What does Christianity say is the highest good? How is God revealed to us? Knowing God is what distinguishes humans. Humans can know God, and it is possible to know God. So how is that knowledge of God possible, especially through the creation and the things that have been made? And so those challenges have come up. How do we know God? Why do we need salvation? What is salvation? What is regeneration? What is a good life? What is the moral law? Some of these get expressed in things like, what's the relationship between science and religion? Why do we need those? What's the relationship between government and religion? So these practical challenges come up that really are raising philosophical questions. And one of the things we want to do at Clarity Fund is be trained to address the challenges that have come up. It won't be sufficient to return to tradition. We're going to have to maximize what we've learned in the past, build on historic Christianity, but then use those tools to go further and address challenges that have been brought up since at the philosophical level. So today, I was especially looking at that challenge of what is good? What is the highest good? And how do we achieve that? And the moral law is what teaches us about that. It teaches us the choices we need to make to achieve the good. And the moral law is clear, comprehensive, and critical.